everybody, I'm Tony Southcott.
And I'm Komette. And this is Booze and Booze, where we pair different alcoholic drinks with our reviews of horror movies. Now this is really exciting because Gorehound Playgrounds, where we do all of our filming, has just announced their online website. Everything that you see behind me and a whole plethora of other stuff will be available online for Christmas gifts and other stocking stuffers. So go over to gorehoundsplayground.com to check it out.
And today we're going to be talking about Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell and Patrick Wilson. This is a gory western that is really, really fun to watch, and we made an awesome drink, so let's head over to the kitchen.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Gorehound's Kitchen. Today we are going to be making a drink that I like to call the Opium Tincture. It goes along with our movie, and I'm really excited about it. First, what you're going to want to do is grab a glass and fill it with some ice. Put that to the side, and we'll get to that in a minute, okay? Next, you're going to get your shaker, and you're going to put 1 shot of bourbon in it. I picked the Wild Turkey 101 because it's 101 proof, and this is a kind of a cowboy drink, and cowboys like their bourbon, so we got a really strong one. Do one of those. And then I'm going to do half an ounce of lemon juice. And then we're going to do a bar spoon of maple syrup. We're going to add ice to this, okay? Next, we're going to strain this into our glass. After that, I'm going to use some apple cider to top it off. And there you have it, the Opium Tincture.
Bracing. This is going to penetrate.
Good evening. Civilized towns, you look a man direct in the face when you talk to him.
There's a situation. Serious.
You know who did this?
I don't have a name.
How many of them do you think there are?
It won't matter. You have no chance against any number of them.
Well, we just finished up with Bone Tomahawk, and that is a very, very violent cowboy movie.
It is a violent cowboy movie. It's brutal, and they do not sugarcoat any of their brutality in it. It's 80% cowboy movie, western, and 20% horror movie.
And like we were talking about a little bit before, maybe 10% Lord of the Rings just because of the walking.
Just because of the walking. The pure walking and limping and all that stuff.
Yeah, Patrick Wilson spends 80% of his on-screen time on here just like walking or staring at his leg. So it's just a problem for that character.
It is. And so this is my third time watching this movie. And the first time I watched it, I loved it. I was in absolute shock and awe. I don't even have the word. Disarming the movie was. But I loved the characters. And it definitely gave me some shock value. The bad guys are scary. Yeah, I will say that.
They're very sinister. And you start out the movie and you're wondering if they're going to live up to the hype. Because they have this Indian character coming onto the screen. They say Indian in the movie. I know it's supposed to be natives, etc., etc. Like, don't at me.
It's a cowboy movie.
But,
yeah.
Like, in this one, they're talking about how these guys are basically just inbred rapist murderers, and, like, the other Indian tribes don't mess with them because they're just troglodytes and garbage humans that don't even have a language. So you're automatically getting set up with this expectation that these people are going to be feral.
Yeah.
And they definitely live up to that.
They definitely do. The cinematography in this movie, I got to admit, it's beautiful. They do a really good job of capturing the expanse and the western and everything like that.
Yeah, especially for Malibu, California.
Yeah.
Like you expect it to be like New Mexico or something like that.
No.
But this one was filmed in Malibu. That'd be good.
California is interesting. I do gotta say, usually we talk about cinematography and visuals and whatnot. I have to applaud this movie for its sound editing. The first time I watched it, I think I had surround sound in my home. I at least had stuff behind
like
me.
a sound bar or something.
Yeah, and this time we're watching in the Gorehounds Theater, and there is surround sound, and boy, do you hear it.
Yeah, it's 11.1, and I was watching the waveforms on our watch camera, which hopefully was in this one. We've been trying to get that set up for a little bit. But, like, whenever you heard footsteps or clopping or bones being reset or things like that, you felt it in your soul.
Yeah.
Like, it just reverberated through you. And the sound design in this movie is top-notch. It's probably one of the things that is a pet project for the director.
Yeah.
Or is, like, they just got an incredible sound designer. Like, usually whenever you see little touches like that, it's because, well, this was so pretty because this person used to be the director of photography, or this is choreographed so well John Wick style because it was a stunt coordinator who saved all of his best stunts for his movie. Like, I wonder if this guy has a history in sound design or something like that because he paid so much careful attention to it.
Yeah, and it paid off. The main thing for me was the footsteps of the troglodytes. They don't talk. They do this screaming type thing, but they don't announce that they're coming, but you can feel them coming, and it's insane, and it's something that I haven't really experienced with any horror movies, and it does a really, really good job. The only other one that I can put examples on is actually Paranormal Activity, when she gets possessed and her footsteps start to become heavier and stuff. But I gotta say, it's really, really effective for kind of showing the presence of these beings.
I would definitely agree with that. Like, the feeling of being stalked, like being chased, being hunted, is more amplified in this movie. And you also have some badass characters that can handle it, but they're still out of their league. Like, they were told when they left, you will not survive this. Mm-hmm. And I like that, like, he lays it out in that way. And then the sheriff is basically like, I have to go because I'm the sheriff.
No choice.
Like, there's no choice. Like, he could be lazy, but he's honor bound and he can't not go. Then you've got the husband who has to go because he absolutely adores his wife, and they actually did a good job of making you feel that.
Yeah.
Then, like, you've got the deputy sheriff who's kind of clueless, but he's super brave, and he's probably my favorite character in this entire movie.
He's courage, for sure.
Yeah, well, like, what's his name? Chicory is
his name, and he was kind of the comic relief, which you would think in a movie with this type of tone it would be inappropriate, but I could totally picture this type of character in the West, and when you were living there, and just somebody who constantly talks and has something to say.
He's also a Civil War veteran too,
yeah.
So like, you know that he's seen enough that, like, he probably just uses that gallows humor as a way to cope with the things that are happening.
And then the last character, I'm sorry, I don't want to forget about it.
It starts with a B. I can't remember his name. It's the dude from Lost. Broger, something like that. I
thought it was Broker. Maybe it's wrong. We'll put the correct thing.
Whatever. Like, it's Matthew Fox's character. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, out of all the major actors they got in this, like, there are some major actors. You got Kurt Russell. You got Patrick Wilson. You've got Kurt, like, just a lot of good people. And Chicory still stood above them as far as, like, just having an immersive character.
Yeah.
Although, like, the last guy, Matthew Fox's character, is the hard man. The one that's just uncompromising, mostly not really in touch with any sort of sensitive morals. But just a hateful person, but also so good at what he does that you can understand why he's there. And he is kind of there because of his honor, because he was the one who fetched the woman to go have her work on the people that were abducted the night before, or that were incarcerated the night before. He felt guilty there, but he also liked this woman at one point in time.
Yeah, I gotta say something, though, for being such a hard character, and you do endear to him, because you do see a really soft side when, spoiler alert, his horse dies, and he gets really, really upset. So you can tell that he isn't one without motion and whatnot. I just think it's good acting.
Yeah, well, like, the thing is, they made his hatred real. They gave him character motivations because of things that had happened in his past, and it felt like it wasn't just a cop-out.
Right.
It felt like... It actually felt like almost entirely the motivations in this movie were realistic.
Yeah.
Like, you have Chicory, who is the deputy sheriff, so he's doing what the sheriff says, and he also has very little else going on in his life. He's a widower, he's tired, he's old, he's just doing his thing, and he's brave enough to go. You've got, like everybody feels like they've got motivations, they've got character built up. You see, like, there's nothing inconsistent here.
Yeah, it's real.
It's just strong script making. Like, I will say my biggest criticism of this movie has to do with the pacing, and this is because I've seen it before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of walking and a lot of waiting, and it's not enough to make me dislike the film any, but whenever you're sitting there for 2 hours, sometimes it's a little bit hard to, like, stay completely immersed. Like, if they would have made this an hour and 50, hour and 45, just a little bit tighter, I think they could have done better. But then we lose some of the things that endear us to the character, so I'm kind of conflicted on that. Yeah.
I do want to mention something that is new for me with this series, with one of the horror movies that we watched. This movie almost made me cry.
There's one...
Yeah.
There's two heartfelt moments, like the one with the horse, and then, like, I don't want to spoil the end, but I know exactly what you're talking about, because I heard you go, oh, and I felt it in my heart, too.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of twinge, and it's, one of the characters is odd. It's very obvious that they're gonna not make it, and, they just say this one little line, and it was just such a beautiful spot to put it, and kind of it's one of the last lines that are actually said in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little bow. And it legitimately, like, thinking about it is kind of making me emotional. It almost made me cry.
Oh, it hit two characters really hard.
Yeah.
And it was such a cowboy way to go.
It was.
Because, like,
yeah.
the idea, like, the romance of the cowboy in the West, it's not so much that they're, like, the warrior poets of, like, what you'd think of as, like, a samurai or something like that. But they were hard souls that were also a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah.
And, like, but not in a way that made them, like, weak or anything like that.
No.
It was...
Honor. It's honor bound.
Yeah, it's honor, and it's also just, like, an intense, deep love for the people around him. So, for him to have that be his probable last words is, like, exactly how you'd want someone like that to go.
Exactly. And I think it's one of the better deaths that we've seen. I have to give a huge applause to any sort of horror movie that scares me, but also makes me so invested that I mourn when we lose these characters.
Yeah. And his death was really rough in a lot of ways. He took a lot of damage. Not as rough as one of the other characters.
No, that was
one of the characters
bad.
we don't really care about because we don't know enough about him.
Thank God.
I feel like somebody who wrote that had to have known what it's like to work in a slaughterhouse or has gutted a deer at some point, because of the way things just kind of, like, plop out.
That was way too efficient too. I feel like after it happened, I was like, would that actually happen? Do you think, if you did that way?
I think that it honestly would rip that way a little bit, but I don't know if you could do it with their tools.
Right.
Like, I think...
Would obviously, but their tools could cut through bone and everything.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, they sharpen the bone. That's hence why it's called
Bone Tomahawk. Yeah.
And they use that to great effect. And I think if you got some really good separation, because they didn't actually pull the two halves apart. They just split it a little bit and then dragged it away.
They broke the pelvis.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think if the pelvis wasn't there, would everything come out like that?
He was also hitting on the front, so it's like the gut was separated, and you don't even have to do much with that. Like,
bleep all this out. That'd be funny.
Like, there's a lot there that's just like, oh my goodness, why, and
and then they eat it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we covered the main bases. Like, was it scary? No. Was it disgusting and interesting and novel in that sense? Very much yes. Yeah. Are we going to rewatch it? Probably not anytime soon. Maybe to show a friend.
Yeah.
I think that's everything that I have to say about Bone Tomahawk right now. Like, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, other than check it out. I watched it originally on Prime. I'm not sure if it's still on there for free, but it's definitely worth the $2 to stream it at home with your significant other or a friend.
Yep. Please check out Gorehound Playground's website, because now they're selling merch online. It's not just a storefront in Fort Collins. We love this place and want to see you guys find it and have a great time with it too. And also, if you are so inclined, become a patron at patreon.com/humanechoes.
And we'll see you next time here on Booze and Booze.
Bye.